This podcast is brought to you with limited interruption by Rudy Luther Toyota. Whether looking for an exciting brand new Toyota, a certified pre-owned vehicle, or getting quality routine maintenance and service for your vehicle, Rudy Luther Toyota is the place to go. Rudy Luther Toyota, the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley. Subscribe to the podcast Beyond Politics. They host some of the biggest names and smartest minds. Beyond Politics is from a former Democratic congressman who helped ignite Barack Obama's campaign and a former campaign manager and political columnist. They go beyond the usual chatter on politics, news, science, and books. It's politics and everything beyond. On Beyond Politics, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Broadcasting live on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, as well as in the evenings on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Monday. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. An insanely busy news day, as you can imagine. We've got a lot to get to today. I'll just put this out here. I got no guest today. I don't think I'm going to need one. I'm going to open it up locally in the 4 o'clock hour here for MSP if you do want to call in at that point. But for the time being, it's just I'm not going to be, just FYI, there's not going to be time for calls because this is such a massive amount of news, and obviously having to do with happened, a lot of it having to do with what happened on Saturday evening. Patrick, just really quick here. How are you?
Doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. The storms we've been having these summer storms roll through up here. I hope everyone's okay. Power has been out here in the Twin Cities for some of the people, but overall, I'll talk more about that coming up here in the 4 o'clock hour. So I'm sitting at home. My wife and I were about to head on out on Saturday night to go get some food. And I pick up my phone just to check the hours of the restaurant, and all of a sudden I've got a message from someone said, you need to turn on the Trump rally. Something's going on. So I do a quick little search on social media, and indeed, you could tell something was going on. So I said to my wife, we need to go downstairs and turn the TV on right now. It was... I want to make sure we stand up and stay this, absolutely united. Attempted assassinations of political candidates is, well, I think it goes without saying it's wrong. It's abhorrent. It's disgusting. But that's exactly what happened. Someone tried to kill Donald Trump. We've got a lot to talk about with this. I want to start off, though, with the insanely incompetent CNN coverage for the first 30 minutes of this. Patrick, did you see any of the CNN coverage while this was going on live in the first 30 minutes?
I did not. I was unavailable Saturday night. I had just headed out the door when everything went down, so I missed everything as it happened live, so I didn't really have a chance to catch up on the immediate aftermath of it.
All right. So CNN, for 30 minutes, talked about somebody threw fireworks at Donald Trump. Now, okay, comparison, the channel I immediately flipped to when I realized, because I watched the video. They showed the video that CNN was like, that's not fireworks. That's someone shooting from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. That's someone shooting at them. I go to the BBC. Now, to give the BBC credit, although this is sometimes how you stumble into it, very quickly you get there and they say, shots fired at Donald Trump. The reason why they knew it was shots fired was the BBC was not allowed into the Trump rally. And so they have a guy on site to do the reporting at the Trump rally, just probably some cut-ins later on, nothing major. Obviously, they're not doing live coverage of it on the BBC. But because the guy was not allowed into the arena where the speech was being done, he was, it looks like about 50 yards from where the shooter was. So he and basically everyone outside knew exactly what had happened. A man had gotten up on top of the building over there and was firing down on Donald Trump. But for 30 minutes, CNN, we're not sure what's happened here. It sounds like fireworks went off, and boy, oh boy, just look at, there are people bleeding in the stands, for goodness sakes. I've seen the CNN newsroom should have MSNBC, Fox News, local affiliates, the BBC up on screens in their newsroom. And at no point did they say, well, look at all these other people are saying shots fired. You know what? We're going to go with fireworks. I have seen bad news coverage. I haven't seen news coverage that bad in a long time. We also have to talk about the security here, because this is really weird that this happened. Now, I want to be very clear from the get-go. No, I do not think in any way, shape, or form this was some sort of false flag, coordinated, some guy's going to wing Trump. No. This was an actual assassination attempt. This was just a cataclysmic failure by the Secret Service and, frankly, the local law enforcement on the scene. And I've got a theory on that. The theory is these guys, and let's face it, most of these guys, if you're a police officer in rural America, you're probably extremist right-wing. If you're a sheriff's department out in rural America, you're probably one of these people that sits there all the time and says something to the effect of, we've got constitutional rights. We supersede all authority in this country, as the sovereign sheriff's organization sort of thing. But the reality is that they were on the lookout for a certain type of villain, kind of like a Snidely Whiplash from the Dudley Do-Rights. That guy clearly is the bad guy. Don't you see the pencil-thin mustache and the black clothes and the weird hat and the maniacal look in his eye? Now, it wasn't Snidely Whiplash they were looking for. What they were looking for was what they think is the villain, what they thought up until that point will be the person who tries to do some bad here. Probably a black Muslim immigrant, transgender individual with Antifa, pro-Palestine, just got into this country to get a ninth-month abortion. That's who they were on the lookout for, and they were scanning the crowd for them. But much like Kyle Rittenhouse, who, when he came out with his hands up in front of the police, they said, come on over here, white boy. You clearly are not the shooter. And he was able to walk through the police line because they were looking for black guy, Muslim, Antifa, transgender, pro-Palestine, abortion wanter. That's what they were looking for with Kyle Rittenhouse. Same thing happened here. Their entire security mode was the Snidely Whiplash scenario. They were looking for somebody who fit a narrative, not an actual, gunman. It is stunning, though. Even that, that aside, it is stunning as a military guy. I was not the greatest Army guy. I mean, there are some guys I was served with who were fantastic. I thought I did an okay job. When you go to the firing range in the military, the closest shot is basically 50 yards, and then you got 100, 150, 200. 200 yards is not that far away from somebody. 200 yards is not that far away, and that was kind of the distance from the top of this building where he was shooting down on this site. You also learn through basic combat techniques that if you're looking to build a ambush zone in a combat zone, you get the high ground because it becomes very easy to pick people off, which is what this building was. It was high ground. I mean, you look at the bullets coming in, they're shooting down. It is absolutely the worst case scenario for a Secret Service guy or someone trying to do security to have a person able to get up that high and shoot down on the crowd. I have seen multiple people, military people, and some people with very strong ties to the Secret Service already making the point, how in the world was there not a Secret Service guy on that building? It was the most vulnerable position there could be. Now, I want to give the sniper, I know some people like, I don't like glorifying violence, but the fact that sniper was not his zone of target, was able to get that gun down and get a bead on the shooter and take him out as quickly as he did, that is amazing. That was actually probably saved a lot more people than at that point. The other thing, and this is where the local law enforcement needs to be dragged a little bit. So there were people that didn't get tickets who lived nearby that were by some of these buildings where this guy went up on shot, who were there just on, to be there. They would listen to it. They couldn't see him, but they could listen to it. And so they're having like a barbecue and beers and stuff like this. And they come walking out to the street where the BBC guy is. They come walking out to the street so they can hear the rally. And they immediately are like, well, there's a guy up there on that roof with a gun. And they were outside the security perimeter, but for at least 2 to 3 minutes, we're trying to frantically warn local law enforcement, hey, there's a guy with a gun up there. Now, it does sound like at some point within that 2 to 3 minutes, while the guy was crawling up the roof to get it, the shooter was crawling up the roof to get into position to fire, that one of the police officers did finally come strolling over, poked his head up, did indeed see the shooter, but because he was holding on to the roof, did not have a gun in his hand, shooter whips around, aims the gun at him, he drops to the ground, shooter swings by, that's when the bullets start to fly. So it was at that point, at the very end, they finally came on over. How in the world do people come on out there and say, hey, there's a shooter, there's a guy with a gun up there, you need to check this out? I mean, there's even video footage of him on the roof. And at no point did they say, well, maybe we should check that out. Well, they eventually did, but it was too late at that point. Thank God. I mean, and I'm going to say this, thank God the guy was a bad shot because, everything was played to that guy to be able to take Trump out as well as anyone else he wanted to at that point, and he missed, thank God. He hit his ear, but, obviously could have been a lot worse. But the security we have to step back here. And not only that, obviously then Trump is doing the fist bump. I mean, you've got an active shooter situation. How is it that the Secret Service is being pushed off this guy and he's able to do these fist raises? Because Trump knew he had television gold at that point. So he gets out there, tries to do what he did when he tried to turn the vehicle around and go back to the Capitol on January 6th. Goes and does this. The reality is Secret Service should have grabbed him and chucked him in the car and got him out of there. There are major questions there. Security clearly needs to be checked out. We'll talk more when we come back. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
There's a space in my heart when it all comes crashing down. Anytime I hear your name out in public, there's a place.
It is the Matt McNeil Show once again here on your Monday. Busy Monday indeed. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. So, no, I understand that some people would look at this and try to say, wow, this is a little goofy. How did security get so bad? How was Trump able to do this, his made-for-camera moment because he should have been whisked off? How is it that all these people got on message so quickly afterwards? I do not think this was. I think this was. This is Thomas Matthew Crooks. This was the guy. I mean, he is the shooter. And I'll get to him here in just a little bit because I want to talk a little bit about him. But this happened. Trump realizing he had a moment, took advantage of it. Once again, why Secret Service would allow him to do that when there's an active shooter situation makes no sense. But they did, And like I said, that's going to be part of the Secret Service. They're going to have to explain why they didn't do like Reagan. When Reagan got shot, I think, didn't they break 2 of his ribs, chucking him into a car to get him out of there? I believe so. They're not supposed to let them, go on out there and pose for the cameras. But then came the messaging. And I just want to make sure you understand. No, this wasn't done in advance. The Republicans, as atrocious as their messaging was in the mere 15, 30 minutes after the shooting, this is the machine they have built, and they know how to utilize it. And there were really 3 different narratives that came on out immediately. And like I said, without a doubt, within 15 minutes of this happening, people were sitting down saying, get in touch with these people. Here are the talking points. Get this out to everybody. Call these people. Get it done. That is what they do. They control message. Democrats, hell, I called Democratic politicians to get them on the show, and they're like, I don't know. Geez, is talking to the progressive base in Minneapolis a good idea for me as a Democrat? Yeah. It is mind-blowing, the polar opposite, how bad Democrats are at messaging and how insanely quick and efficient Republicans are at this. The first one was the one that most of us saw, which basically was Democrats are responsible. And it wasn't just 1 or 2. I mean, it was a lot of Republicans blame. First of all, there are some people who blame Biden himself. And it wasn't just that jackass out of Georgia, Mike Collins. Senator Blackburn blamed Trump. Lauren Boebert blamed Trump. Wesley Hunt blamed Trump. Nick LaLota blamed Trump. Keith Self blamed Trump. Claudia Tini of New York blamed Trump. And J.D. Vance, who is now the Trump's vice presidential nominee, immediately came on out. This was Biden's fault. Funny story, not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, this is one from, the call came from inside their own house on this one. This kid is a Republican, and I got 2 theories on what was going on here, because they have no idea why this Republican kid from a Republican area, why he would do this. I've got 2 theories on it, but I'll get to that a little bit later on. So those 8, including the vice presidential pick, all blamed Biden within minutes of the shooting, blaming Trump critics. And if you dare to basically criticize Project 2025, or I don't know, the fact that the guy's name's all over the Epstein file, or the guy that is a felon, or the guy has basically been selling secret documents to foreign countries, or all these things, you dare criticize him, that you're to blame. Biggs, Bud of North Carolina, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Clay Higgins, Darrell Issa, Ronnie Jackson, John James, Mike Lee, Brian Mast, Lisa McClain, Corey Mills, Mark Wayne Mullen, Burgess Owens, Michael Rulli, Salazar of Florida, Scalise, Scott, Rick Scott, and Tim Scott, both of them, Mike Simpson, Greg Stubbe, and Michael Welts. All of them came on out within minutes and blamed, this is because of Trump's critics. No, it wasn't. Once again, just making it up as they go. But once again, they all got the talking points. And I guarantee you the Republicans send out talking points saying, okay, if you don't feel comfortable, just say thoughts and prayers. If you do feel comfortable, you can attack people who've been critics of Trump. And if you really feel comfortable, go after Biden himself and say this is his responsibility. And once again, this was a Republican kid. We'll get to that here in a little bit. I want to also focus on, because beyond the politicians, that became a theme very quickly. That if you dared question Donald Trump, that somehow you wanted this to happen. I'll be the first to say, I don't want Donald Trump shot. I don't want him dead. That's just me. I've said it numerous times on this show. No, I don't want, that to happen. He is a horrible president. He has done a lot of bad things to a lot of bad people. And I'll be damned if I'm going to sit back and allow him to try to implement Project 2025, the destruction of American democracy, because we're supposed to feel sympathy for him because he got shot. Feel bad he got shot. I'm not pulling my punches. That's just that. Project 2025 is horrible. It's disgusting. No, it's not my criticism that encouraged this. Funny story, it's the right's constant fear everything, get guns. That's what created this monster. I'll get to that here in a little bit. The other thing which was stunning to see, and once again, Democrats couldn't message themselves out of a wet freaking paper bag half the time. Republicans very quickly got on social media, onto the TikTok and to the Instagram and the Snapchat and all these, and had social media influencers, my guess is many of them paid, within an hour saying, Donald Trump looks so cool. He got shot, covered in blood, raises his fist. Boy, oh boy, are the Democrats going to lose bad. Boy, oh boy, Donald Trump is the hero we need. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. If you go back and look at someone's social media pages, and within the first 2 hours, they were putting out videos talking about how brave and how unbelievable, because this was messaging by Republicans to try to get Generation Z to pull back and say, hey, see, he's a cool guy. It was bought and paid for. Almost guarantee it. I almost guarantee. Not every one of them. I mean, some of them obviously are going to be right-wing kooks, but there were a lot of people that they very quickly had on the payroll putting that content out. Bought and paid for to try to make it seem like, isn't he a hero? No. You know, I'm glad he didn't get shot, but getting your ear shot doesn't in turn make you a hero, nor sitting there and ignoring the demands of the Secret Service to get off the stage and trying to do a photo moment. That doesn't make you a hero. He didn't deserve to get shot. He shouldn't have gotten shot. Once again, I'm going to go back to the stunning lack of security by the Secret Service. But absolutely, he is not necessarily what they portrayed him out to be. But that's how good Republican messaging is. Within 15 minutes of this shooting, they had sent out press releases, checks. They got everyone on message, and they were pushing that. Now, when we find out about the shooter, that kind of blew back on them. I'll talk about that when we come back. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Broadcasting in the evenings on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, and in the afternoons on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show on your Monday. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. The narrative that they've been pushing is that this rhetoric of violence has come from the left. And if there's anything more laughable than that, I don't know what it is. This is a group of people on the right who, I mean, one guy posted all of the campaign videos showing major candidates shooting things, including implying shooting the president and Speaker Pelosi and others. The fascination with guns, the fascination with we're going to start a civil war, the fascination with mocking people. For God's sakes, Don Trump Jr. mocked Nancy Pelosi, husband, after he was violently attacked with a hammer. So for anybody to come on out here, don't get me wrong, there are people on the left. There are people on the left who do put out this rhetoric, and I smack it down as quickly as I can. But as one video I posted earlier this weekend showed, is that 75%, since 2013, 75% of all attacks that have been caused by extremists going after people for political reasons, 75% comes from the right. 4% is coming from the left. 4%. No. The people who have pushed this narrative over and over and frankly have unleashed this, this kind of mentality, which seems to be where the shooter's going. Once again, I'll get to the shooter here in a little bit. That is coming from the right. So for them to basically say, you people on the left are the reason for this. No. This is a Republican shooter. He wasn't listening to anyone on the left. I'm going to play this. This is a video because, once again, Donald Trump should not have been shot. I feel bad for him that did happen. That is unacceptable in any situation, period. End of story, end of discussion. But I'm going to put this up. This is from the TikTok. It's at Franny, Frini Flow. And she put out this. This was some of the messages. A lot of people putting messages out like this over the weekend. And I think it needs to be said that if you're wondering where the violent rhetoric has been coming from, well, you need to look at, unfortunately, the people that were shot at on Saturday. Go ahead and play this, Patrick.
I'm not going to say the thing we're all supposed to say right now. You know why? I never want to be employed again. No, because while I do believe political violence has no place in our politics, it's already here. Saying that is like saying money has no place in our politics or the Kardashians have no place in our politics. It's a nice thought, but it's a little late. And in large part, thanks to this guy. This guy and his movement that relishes in violence against protesters being brutalized by cops, against immigrants being hunted like animals, against women who are bleeding out in their cars because they can't access abortion rights. This is a guy who's inspired mass shooters like the El Paso shooter or the Tree of Life synagogue shooter who said that he voted for Trump even though he wasn't extremist enough for him. This is a guy who called white supremacists who just murdered a woman very fine people. He suggested that BLM protesters be shot. He called Nancy Pelosi a demented psycho after her husband was attacked with a hammer. And he proclaimed that we will never take back our country with weakness before a mob attacked the Capitol building. This is a guy whose policies are violence, and they have claimed lives. So when a 20-year-old registered Republican with an AR-15, a gun that Democrats have tried so hard to get out of the hands of everyday people, attempts to assassinate him, my first thought isn't, oh my God, it's, yeah. Given everything that fits in this busted-ass freak show of a democracy we insist is normal but is everything but. The question is, what are we doing about the political violence other than issuing statements about political violence? And to me, that means organizing, educating, and come November, voting this violent extremist into oblivion.
An absolutely outstanding point there. Now, the one thing I disagree with is I do feel sorry for. I do feel sorry for Trump that, yeah, I do, because no one deserves that. But at the same time, the rhetoric of violence is the right. As a matter of fact, they've been scrambling. I mean, Donald Trump Jr. today basically said, we can't go with conspiracy theories. Now, there's a very specific reason they don't want to, which is why now we need to talk about the shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks. We need to talk about him because, yeah, this is, it is unbelievable that we have this narrative that came out almost instantly. This was Democrats. Democrats did this. This was Democrats. It was Joe Biden. Democrats. They had no idea who the shooter was, but they all authoritatively said that. Some clown over at the rally with one of those big electric signs actually an hour after the shooting said Democrats just tried to assassinate Donald Trump. And that's not true. Thomas Matthew Crooks is a registered Republican, voted in 2022 as a Republican. There are a lot of things about this guy that clearly scream that this was from a Republican point of view, an inside job from a conservative town. Conservative family. His dad's a libertarian, a registered libertarian. His dad had an AR-15. Now, an AR-15 doesn't necessarily mean Republican, but I've only met one Democrat who got an AR-15. Every other person I know that has an AR-15 is a far-right conservative. Guy doesn't have much social media, doesn't have known ideologies, although that seems to be a little bit of a disclaimer. The people have talked to his classmates at school, and he is described as either quiet, not showing any political ideology, but other people have said, no, he was of the extreme right-wing ilk. He is of the extreme right-wing ilk. So everything about this guy, the video footage, there's a video camera surveillance image of him before the shooting that day. He is wearing this extreme Second Amendment group's T-shirt. He subscribed to that mentality. Second Amendment group's T-shirt, an extremist T-shirt that that he is wearing. He is not Antifa. He is not a Democrat. This guy clearly seems to be in-house. And as a matter of fact, this is why I think law enforcement is scratching their caboose on this. They don't know quite what to think, because their narrative is, well, we were looking for the black, Muslim, transgender, pro-Palestine immigrant trying to get an abortion. We weren't looking for a 20-year-old Republican kid from a conservative town using his dad's AR-15 that he legally purchased. Once again, a lot of questions for security. Thomas Matthew Crooks is a Republican. Everything is pointing to it. Which, this is why, if you notice, from after the shooting up until about midday yesterday, the narrative from Republicans is, damn you Democrats, why did you Democrats unleash this man on us? And then all of a sudden, a white guy from rural Pennsylvania with a registered Republican. And all of a sudden, they quickly pulled back on that. They quickly pulled back on, wait a second here, this guy doesn't sound like he's a left-leaning guy at all. And all of a sudden, that's why Donald Trump Jr. today is out there saying, we're not talking about conspiracy theories. No, there isn't a conspiracy theory. This guy was born and bred through the Republican Party with a dad who's a freaking libertarian. It doesn't fit your narrative, but this is what I've been screaming about with freaking guns for the last 20 years. You guys sit there and you constantly say, they're coming to get you. They're coming to get you. They're going to come and get you. You better get a gun. You better get a gun. You better get a gun. Oh, they're going to do something. Oh, it's one of those guys. Antifa's going to come out here. Oh, you better be ready for it. That's your rhetoric. That's not my rhetoric. My rhetoric has been, God, we probably shouldn't have military-grade weapons available to anyone willy-nilly. And you guys sit down like, liberal Second Amendment till death. Guns are more important than Jesus. That's you guys, not me. And it seems to have worked, at least with this kid, with his pro-Second Amendment shirt and the AR-15 that he used to try to kill the former president of the United States. You guys created this man. And clearly he was mentally compromised. Now, there are two theories then. If this wasn't some sort of lefty, liberal, progressive, oh my gosh, you guys don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. If it wasn't that, what was it? Well, it seems to be one of two things. And I think it's this first one. I think it's someone shooting somebody for celebrity's sake. That, I mean, it's like the guy that killed Garfield, President Garfield. That guy was like a 20-time loser, and he said one day, well, if I kill the president, I'll be known forever, as he was. And that's just, that's one way to get celebrity. If you feel as if you are in some small backwoods Pennsylvania town, you're basically going to be stuck working at the local farm implement dealer or the grocery store or whatever. You're not going to have a lot of growth potential there. You're kind of stuck in this town. You're dreaming of being some sort of big celebrity. Well, some people, especially people who are mentally compromised, who should never have access to a freaking gun, might say, hey, if I basically become a mass shooter, Well, guess what? I'll become a celebrity. And I honestly almost wonder if the fact that it was Trump in this rally was irrelevant, that if any rally would have happened around him, whether that's the local county fair or a car show or a concert, would he have gone out and shot? He just was given an opportunity because, oh, Trump's going to be 30 miles away? Well, maybe I can get down there. Security's not looking for him, white guy from rural Pennsylvania with a gun. No, he's an honest American. We're looking for the other guy. He's able to get in there, and he's, once again, he gets the celebrity if that's what he was looking for. And it's scary. I mean, McKinley was anarchists went after McKinley. Of course, there's Lee Harvey Oswald, I think, was clearly mentally compromised, but I think he was kind of a political manifesto he was working on. The guy, mentally insane in the case of Reagan, revenge in the case of Lincoln. I think this was like Garfield. I think it was celebrity. I think the guy wanted to be a celebrity. Now, there is another option here, which is something we need to talk about because I'm going to come back after the break here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the Civil War guys. There is, on the extreme far right, this narrative that is being put forward by the far right that we might be able to have an effective civil war if Trump was to be shot. This is from Alex Jones 5 months ago. Alex Jones, an InfoWars guest, Ivan Raiklin, discussed how assassinating Trump would be beneficial, according to them, because it would lead to retaliatory and kind assassinations of a deep state list, which includes Joe Biden. Raiklin, if they assassinate Trump, option 2 behind Trump is going to be so much better for us and so much worse for them. Alex Jones, I was about to say, if they kill him, the best case scenario from a sick level, from a sick level medium, oh, please kill him. I mean, that's good after that. Raiklin, oh, it's going to be the best cleansing and fastest cleansing that we've ever seen in a lifetime, I guarantee. I access with almost certainty that the highest level of confidence that if they assassinate Trump, then it's game over for them. Well, maybe that's what we're looking at. I mean, this kid seems like he was in that vein, on the far-right extremism with the Second Amendment stuff. Maybe this was an attempt to kill Trump to start that civil war. We'll come back. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Broadcasting in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Chicago, and across the country online. It is the Matt McNeil Show on your Monday, 952-946-6205. Patrick, you made up a point there about this weird far-right dark web conspiracy about Trump. Where did you hear this?
It was on the David Pakman show right before this, that there is that element, and you were alluding to this with the Alex Jones point, that there are those who believe Trump is more valuable to them dead than alive, and there were those who were on that far right. They were very upset and angered that Trump disavowed Project 2025.
Yeah, well, and also should mention today they've revamped their abortion stance in an attempt to basically, hey, we're not that extremist for the convention, and there's already a lot of the very 100% anti-abortion zealots that have inherited the Republican Party are suddenly acting like, oh, no, we can't believe that. No, that is something that is out there. And if you're looking at motive, those are the only two things that seem to make any sense about this shooter. Was he trying to be a celebrity, or had he bought into, and once again, I think it's the celebrity thing, because they still, even with his social media, I really haven't found too much there. I think that extremist Second Amendment group that he has been involved in kind of reeks of the idea of maybe something of that nature. I mean, I imagine there are some people in that group that are like that, and maybe he met some people in that group that kind of push that idea. But that is something that is out there, that they want, this is the far right, wants Trump dead, because then it gives them, they feel the ability to go on out there, and it's open season. Every Democrat's a target. Every left-leaning institution and organization's a target, and it will begin. Now, if I can, let's talk a little bit about civil war, because, you know, as Patrick kind of mentioned, this was something that immediately after the story broke that there were these arguments of, well, you guys are lucky because we were going to come out there and shoot you all. I mean, and there is a lot, and I do mean a lot, of people on Twitter and TikTok and Snapchat, Instagram, posting these videos of, we would have killed every one of you. I mean, really not even trying to pull it back, how eager they were. Now, you wonder where something like this comes from. If we can, let's play that clip from the guy, the head of the Heritage Foundation, whose group put out Project 2025. Let's play that clip that was from Real America Voice News. What did he say again? Please.
I come full circle in this response and just want to encourage you with some substance that we are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
That's right. If the left allows them to,
brother.
If the left allows them to basically overthrow the government, well, then there won't be any bloodshed. But if you get in our way, we're going to do this. Now, first of all, as an Army veteran, you guys are sick in the head, man. You are. You either are just despondent or you're mentally broken. It's one of the two. You guys sit there. First of all, you think the police are just going to let you just start gunning people down. You know, your neighbor, that local politician, start going over to any place where there's a minority and start shooting away, that the police are going to be like, oh, I guess nothing to see here. And sure, I imagine there's going to be like the case out in Oregon where their guy was hiding under the blue tarp. Clearly, the police were working with the terrorist organization out there. But for the most part, most of the police are not going to be cool with you guys starting to open fire on everyone, and probably including them. And I know you guys sit out there in your backyard and you got your Coors beer, and I'm going to tell you what. Yeah, the military, it will be fun. Drones, heavy drones. Oh gosh, I'll let that be a surprise. I'll let it be a surprise. And good luck with all that. Yeah, it's not going to last. You guys sit there. I mean, the guys that scream about this stuff, that talk about, that do I'm the tough guy. One of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to get into a combat zone and your buddy Billy Bob's head gets blown off, and all of a sudden you're sitting there wetting yourself, realizing, oh my God, they're firing back. Oh my God. The military and the army are not, the police are not on our side. Oh my God. I got to run out and hide in the hills. I don't have my truck anymore. I'm not going to go watch the game this weekend. Oh my God. Yeah, so fun story. Most of these guys, I mean, if you want to go play Army, join the military. You have to get through a mental exam. I mean, good luck with that. But you can go join the military. If you really want to, promote America, go do that. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. Knock yourself out. I was U.S. Army. Go team, go. But the guys that generally don't want to go join the military but want to talk about how tough they are military-wise, those are usually the guys that wet themselves the second bullets start flying. And that's just the truth, because they think it's going to go some way, and the reality is they're just they don't have the damn slightest idea what the hell they're doing. The other exception to that is the people who are truly psychopaths, the guys that want to shoot babies in faces, that sort of thing. So it's you're one of the two. Which one are you? All you guys on social media screaming about Civil War, because you were so convinced that a Democrat had done this, not a Republican 20-year-old. You were so eager, so ready to go, that you sat there and you were ready to go. So what is it? Are you going to be the guy that wets his pants or the guy that's looking to shoot babies in the face? Which one are you? Because those are the only two real options. I mean, if you're this tied up, if you're this broken, that this is you are so determined, that your life has been such a failure on all levels, that the only option you have is to start shooting Democrats. What's wrong with you? So are you the pants wetter or are you the psychopath? Because it's one of the two. It's one of the two. This is a tragedy. A presidential nominee, by the way, it should be mentioned, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. now has also been given Secret Service protection by Joe Biden. A candidate for the president of the United States should not be shot at. But what we shouldn't do is just lie down and take a narrative that's being thrown at us. It was a Democrat. No, it wasn't. It was a Republican. Joe Biden or the hit. No, he didn't. That you can't criticize Donald Trump anymore. No, I'm criticizing Donald Trump. Trust me, I'll have no problem with that. And you know, if you're against us in Civil War, well, good luck with that. I'll go with the U.S. Army, and we'll have some fun. Yeah, it is what it is, man. Chicago, have a good one. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Minneapolis, St. Paul, hour 2 up next. Hour number 2 here on your Monday. Good to be with you. Matt and Patrick here, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Like I said, that was just the hour, and I had to cut that hour dramatically to get everything in that I wanted to talk about, just about the assassination attempt from Saturday. I didn't even have time to get to, Judge Cannon's clearly written by somebody else's ruling on dismissing the Trump case. No, seriously. Eileen Cannon was told, here's the ruling, put your name on it, and you're done. Absolutely. If you read through that ruling on dismissing the case, and once again, this is the Republican Party now. Donald Trump stealing a bunch of classified documents and selling them off to Saudis and Russians. That's just the job of the president. The president can do that. And they're doing everything. And granted, that's, Cannon's ruling didn't have anything to do with that. She basically tried to weasel out of this case by basically saying the special prosecutor shouldn't have been appointed. But the reality is that they want this case to go away, and they're desperately trying to do that. So, and J.D. Vance, one of the most, first one of the people that used to criticize Trump all the time, who has now become this far-right MAGA guy because he saw the opportunity. He's the vice presidential nominee for the Republicans. And like I said, this is considering how extremist he has become, this is on par. This is Sarah Palin 2.0. That's Sarah Palin 2.0. I mean, he's going to, my guess is there's not going to be a vice presidential debate because he will get destroyed by Kamala Harris in that debate. It's like, what? Remember when you said that Joe Biden killed his people? You've not come out. I mean, if he had a brain in his head, what Vance would do is come on out during the convention and say, you know what? I want to admit I made a mistake. I made a mistake. Joe Biden didn't have anything to do with this shooting, and I said that, and I want to pull that back. Wow, that might actually sound like, you're trying to, accommodate. The reality is that, my guess is going to be he's not going to do that. Also, we should keep a tally here on speakers. Who's going to blame the Democrats for the shooting, or who will call the shooter a Democrat in disguise? Because I guarantee you, Marjorie Taylor Greene might be the smart bet on that one. But I guarantee you, on that stage, two people, that is going to be something that's going to be said at some point. They're going to go out there. So I didn't even have time to get any of that stuff. Any of that stuff at all. Patrick, I did have the pleasure this weekend on Saturday morning of talking to the Senate District 52 Senior Caucus on their monthly Zoom call. It was an absolute delight to chat with them on Saturday morning.
Sounds like a great way to spend a Saturday morning. Hope you enjoyed your time with them. It sounds like you definitely did.
It was. It's always very enjoyable. A few of the politicians were there. It was good to see them as well from Senate District 52 on the south side. It was good to have you. Good to be there. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful time there. How much sweating did you do this weekend, Patrick?
Quite a bit. I saw Earth, Wind, and Fire with Chicago at the XL on Saturday night. Yeah. It was nice and air conditioned in the XL, but that was a hot walk across the Skyway from the River Center ramp, though.
I run, and doing my recovery now. I've had to start running again. Not happy about it, but I'm okay with it. And I understand this is about long term with the broken back. It's about long term stuff. I ran 3 miles yesterday morning. I also yesterday hiked Lake Harriet. I by far looked far more drenched and exhausted after the walk around Harriet than I did after coming out of the gym. It was miserable. But my wife and I had this great mentality, which is, in winter when it's cold, you got to put your gear on. You got to go outside. You got to go do that because that's just, you can't, you'll go crazy sitting inside the house all winter long. And the same thing goes. Yeah, we get these nice days, but we were just 6 months saying, oh, I can't wait for it to be hot again. Well, it is hot. And yeah, sometimes it's like Savannah hot. I mean, yesterday that was Savannah. Only Savannah's usually like 4 or 5 degrees warmer than that. It is brutal down there. I mean, it is a sweat fest. You got to get out. You have to go out and enjoy it because you can't appreciate the good days without some of the rougher ones. And that was a little rough. It was very rough about the... It was very rough for a lot of people in the metro area in regards to the storms that came through. Now, Patrick, what town, what suburb do you live in?
I live in Edina.
Did you lose power?
The power flickered a handful of times, but we did not lose it.
A lot of people lost power. As a matter of fact, when I was coming back yesterday from Lake Harriet, there was Highway 7. There was a bunch of lights that were not working. I went to Target today over by Knollwood, and all the food's gone. And I said, "What happened?" And they said, "Was this just your usual Saturday Sunday rush?" He goes, "No, we lost power. We had to throw everything out." And so, yeah, that was pretty remarkable. They were out of power. I was out of power in Hopkins for about 12 hours, maybe a little less than 12 hours. It was getting gamey. At Chateau McNeil. But there are still people out there. I'm seeing these large masses of XL Energy trucks. They're out there trying to get the power turned on as much as possible, as quickly as possible. All my best to them. And it's at this point we all can say it together. Thank God this isn't Texas, huh? Thank God this is not the godforsaken hellscape of Texas, where the state government there will always take the side of the corporation over the people. Because if this was Texas, we would have multiple people without power for the week. Because we don't want to tell that company how to do their business. Yeah, that's how you do it. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. There's been a lot of talk on the left about how do you respond to the Trump shooting. Now, I spent the last hour, podcast available, going over the ugliness of the assassination attempt, but the truth behind it, where the shooter, it seems to be this right-wing guy, and these demands from authoritarian government officials where, your side did this, you can't criticize him, we should just anoint him president right now. That's kind of what the right's narrative have been. And I want to make sure we on the left, who sometimes you guys got to learn how to punch back. You guys got to learn how to punch back, because that is a fatal flaw of the Democrats. They look at the big bad guy across the way and they're like, he's big and scary. I don't know. I'll just punch the guy next to me. You guys do that way too much. The Republicans themselves have given the left the ability and the narrative to basically move past this shooting. Not forget it. I mean, history will never forget it. But not make this the sole issue of this election, which the Republicans are going to try to do. They've already got the T-shirts out. They've already got the images out. And if you're in Minnesota, you have especially a Democrat in Minnesota, you have a very interesting perspective on this. Paul Wellstone passed away in a plane crash right before the election. I believe that's 2002. And as the state was in shock, the Republicans, and Norm Coleman at that point was, I'm not campaigning, but I'm on every TV show telling everyone I'm not campaigning. Yeah, I remember that. And I remember him as well, and the Republicans as well, being somewhat cordial for a little bit. They had a massive eulogy for Wellstone. A lot of politicians showed up. And not only did Republicans, but Jesse Ventura at the time stormed out of it because this is just a political rally. Well, no, it was people mourning. And yet that was what the Republicans in 2002 used, not just here in the state of Minnesota, but nationally, as a how dare those Democrats. Paul Stone dies, and we, although we didn't agree with him, we're the only people that love him. Republicans were saying this. There was Republican talking head after Republican talking head after Republican talking head after Republican talking head, all saying the same thing. How dare the liberals turn Paul Wellstone's memorial into an attack on the Republicans. It shows you how low and mean and blah, 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 blah. Remember that? Remember the news and TV and radio people in town here who every day is like, how come there's no accountability for disgracing Paul Wellstone? People who only weeks earlier were saying, hey, I wish Paul Wellstone was dead. We're all of a sudden acting like we're the only ones on Paul Wellstone's side. And Democrats are like, habla, 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 habla. Once again, Republican messaging is it's a deplorable, but man, do they get on message and they get pointed in the right direction in one direction really fast. On the right direction being the right-wing direction, not the correct direction. But they get on message very quickly. And that was nationwide. How dare those damn Democrats in Minnesota, how dare they turn a funeral service for a progressive politician into a funeral service for a progressive politician? How dare they? Well, I want to say, having had that experience with the Wellstone and the Republicans after Wellstone's death, that is the game plan that the Democrats should be putting forward right now. In the wake of the shooting, multiple Republicans started screaming, this is Joe Biden and the Democrats. This is who used the assassination attempt for political purposes. Who? The Republicans did. Without knowing a damn thing about the shooter, about the circumstances. That did not stop them. And for 24 hours, they tripped all over themselves setting up this little reality. That if you're a Democrat and someone tries to sit there and say, Donald Trump, you can't speak bad about him. The Donald Trump used the assassination attempt. You say to them, it's like, you mean the assassination attempt that the Republicans tried to use by implying that Joe Biden was behind it? That assassination attempt, the one that you guys lied to get political points with? Habda, 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 habda. Well, that was then. We didn't know the truth. Yeah, but it didn't stop you, did it? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. We should definitely be campaigning. We should definitely be pointing out, holy God, is Project 2025 an absolute freaking nightmare for America. We should be criticizing Trump for all of his criminal acts, for his felony counts, for raping E. Jean Carroll, for basically being on Epstein's plane with underage kids who both have said, yeah, Donald Trump had sex with them. Yep, we should. Absolutely. It's a shame he got shot. But you should not be pulling back now. Because already they're out there going on the attack. Already they're going, within minutes of the shooting, they couldn't twist that shooting into a political hack job fast enough. And now, as they frantically, oh, wait a minute, it was a Republican kid from Pennsylvania who was a registered Republican. Dad was a libertarian, AR-15, loved the Second Amendment. Oh, well, whoever said we were accusing the Democrats? You did. So, absolutely, without a doubt, without any question whatsoever, when they come on up, apply that Wellstone standard to them. And you say, hey, you basically used the death of Paul Wellstone and the funeral service as a political attack. Well, fine. You can do that. But we're going to completely ignore you as you try to use the attempted assassination of Donald Trump as a political hack job, because you guys have already, within minutes, falsely accused all the Democrats of being involved when it was the call came from within your own party, unfortunately. Do not shy away from this. Once again, they want you to forget everything. They want you to forget the Project 2025. They want to forget about, him wanting to replace the income tax with tariffs. How insane is that? Concentration camps, mass deportations. These are all things that they're going to do. J.D. Vance almost guarantees you that's all this is the stuff that's going to happen. We have to save democracy, and that means Joe Biden needs to win in November. So do not allow them to hold something that is non-existent as far as a guilt over anyone's head. It's a tragedy that Donald Trump was a shot. It was. But I'll be damned if I'm going to allow you to dictate the narrative on how we can talk about this election. So no, Donald Trump is still a horrible choice for president, in case you missed the memo. Hold on, Mike in Columbia Heights. I'll get your call in after the break. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. It is the Matt McNeil Show here on your Monday.
The world getting loose. Feels good to see.
God, it's like I said, big news day. J.D. Vance there. Okay, how do you torpedo your campaign with independent voters? Well, make J.D. Vance your VP candidate. I mean, if you wanted independent voters on your side, I mean, Trump himself is polarizing enough. J.D. Vance does not help you. Rubio, he was a much better candidate. Burgum would have done, I think, a lot of good with independent voters. No, J.D. Vance was the absolute worst of the three choices. And my only theory is about Vance is that he's become so extreme that Trump was wanting to try to play off of him. Like, well, I'm not for basically shooting everyone behind the back of the building like J.D. Vance is. I'm for deporting them. See, kind and compassion. That's my guess. Is where he's going to go with it, but I don't know. That's J.D. Vance is, of all the candidates, was not the one I would have gone with if I wanted to have a chance at possibly having the best chance at winning. It probably would have been Rubio. And by the way, Florida is not going to be happy with you because they got that abortion amendment on the ballot down there. And yeah, they needed that help, and that would have helped them greatly in Florida. So North Dakota, not so much. I mean, Borgum up there, right? I mean, that was, Marco Rubio is just, yeah, that would have been the better choice. That would have just been a better choice. With independent voters, yeah, I just don't see it. Mike is in Columbia Heights. He's been holding, wanted to chime in. Welcome on in, Mike.
Hi, Matt. Donald Trump gives a speech. One of his MAGA supporters takes a shot to the melon and kills him. Donald Trump gets a patch on his scratch. What does he do? He goes out and plays golf. This guy's a reprobate. Mm-hmm. They should use that, promote that as ammunition against him in the campaign. That's all I've got to say. Nice talking to you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. No, I mean, it just, the guy saw the potential for a marketing campaign. That's why he basically fought off his Secret Service agents and basically pumped his fist in the air. The reality is that he's, as tragic as it was that he was shot, if I love I love the people that have been saying, imagine what the narrative would be from Republicans if it was Biden who was clipped on the ear with an assassination attempt. Well, first of all, let's talk about what Joe Biden would have done. Joe Biden would have stayed there where the site was, visited with the families of the victims, would have been talking about the community, saying this should not reflect badly on the community, anything like this. That's what Joe Biden would have done. Trump basically got out of town quickly, and it doesn't seem. I mean, I haven't seen too much in the way of much concern from him about the people that were killed at his rally. But imagine what they would be saying. Boy, oh boy, what does it take to get someone who's a little bit better shot? That's what they'd be saying. That is what they would be saying. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Not all Republicans, but a lot of them would be. Once again, I want to make sure we understand. The Republicans, after Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked with a hammer, were out there mocking Nancy Pelosi relentlessly. And now, all of a sudden, violence has no place in American politics. You guys are the ones that have been pushing violence. And like I said, there is a chance this kid tried to shoot Trump because he signed on to that extreme far-right mentality that if Trump is killed, that allows them to have a civil war and kill all the black people and the Hispanic people and the gay people and anyone that's not a liberal, and I get all their stuff. There is a decent chance that is part of this. And I still think it's celebrity. I still think he's just he tried to make a name for himself. But, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I'm glad he's alive. That doesn't mean he gets a mulligan for his policies or what he wants to do to this country. And you should watch. Right now, frantically, the Republicans are frantically trying in Milwaukee to pull back on the rhetoric, pull back on the negativity, trying to make it seem like we're the middle of the road party. They're not, and they won't be able to, by the way. There's too many clown cars within that party at this point to try to pull that off. So 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Let's take a break here. We'll come on back. We got some news here in the state that we got to talk about down in Minnesota's 2nd District, as well as some other things. 952-946-6205. You want to chime in today, you're more than welcome to. It is the Matt McNeil Show here on your Monday. AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. You're more than welcome to chime in today. Obviously, a lot of news to get through as we are talking here. Republicans got a straighter path to what is expected to be Minnesota's closest congressional race when GOP-endorsed candidate Taylor Rahm dropped out of the primary fight against the better-funded Joe Tirab, who has already been tacitly backing from key House leaders. Rahm, a political newcomer and defense attorney, said in his statement that he was shifting gears to serve as a senior advisor to former President Donald Trump's campaign in Minnesota, where Trump insists he can defeat President Biden after coming close to carrying the national Democratic state, traditionally Democratic state in 2016, but he didn't. I hate to point that out. He didn't carry it, and he lost, and yeah, okay.
Well, they always go, well, we got so close in 2016. Well, he lost by 7 in 2020. Why do they always ignore that?
They don't want to face up to that. And once again, and that's all before the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which has once again skewed all polls 7 to 15 points. And until it stops doing that, I'm not going to stop pointing that out. Until we actually start seeing that coming back, which is one of the reasons. Why did the Republicans today revamp their abortion policy at the RNC? Because they themselves know abortion is an issue that is killing them in regards to, resonating with moderate voters and women, particularly. Tara, a Marine Corps veteran, former federal prosecutor, son of a Sudanese immigrant, free reign to focus on incumbent Democratic Angie Craig on the highly competitive 2nd District, which includes suburban and rural areas south of Minneapolis and St. Paul, and represents one of the biggest pickup opportunities for a House Republican majority. In my opinion, there is nothing more important than this district getting Biden or a Democrat replacement out of power and getting Donald Trump back in the White House, Rahm said in a statement. Therefore, I'll suspend my campaign operations, focus on doing everything possible to save our country. Oh, great. Rahm, who won the endorsement with 74% of the vote in the district, he was going to win the primary. I mean, let's just be honest. He would have won the primary. He got 74% of the vote at the GOP convention in April with backing from grassroots conservatives despite Tarab's huge fundraising edge and expected support from establishment Minnesota Republicans like Majority Whip Tom Emmer, and who is Trump's state chairman. The press release from the DFL on this. DFL statement on CD2 GOP primary buy-off. I like the term. Today, the Minnesota DFL party released the following statement after allies of Joe Tirab salvaged his anemic and lackluster campaign by buying off his Republican primary opponent. By buying off Joe Tirab's primary opponent, National Republicans have cleared the way for an anti-choice extremist to be their nominee in Minnesota's 2nd District. Throughout his campaign, Joe Tirab has made it clear that he's 100% pro-life and will do everything he can to attack abortion rights and roll back reproductive freedoms in Congress. Angie Craig has fought to fully restore and protect reproductive rights, lower health care costs, invest in public safety, and the DFL is already to defend her record to Minnesotans. Joe Tirab lived in Minnetonka. That's right. He wasn't even in the district until recently. He sits on the board of New Life Family Services, a nonprofit organization that runs several anti-abortion centers in Minnesota. He was named as a priority candidate for both the National Republican Congressional Committee and Congressional Leadership Fund, a top Republican-aligned super PAC. In April, Congresswoman Craig was endorsed by the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association. Now, stepping back from this, clearly they feel as if Tirab can knock off Angie Craig. And it should be noted, that's a one and done. If he does, I mean, so it should scare you why they're so desperately trying to get the House and the Senate under Republican control for Trump. And that's one of them, because I guarantee you, when he goes in there and he does what he's going to do, he'll probably resign. He probably won't even, if he was to win, he'd probably resign after his first term because he knows he'd have no chance after passing the atrocious bills. But I still think Angie Craig is still at her seat to lose. And for the reason being is that, he's an anti-abortion extremist zealot who, that doesn't play. I'm sure they're trying to soften his tone. What are you talking about? I'm not against people's rights. I'm sure they're trying to soften that tone up. This, though, does go back to why I think right now Joe Biden's going to be the nominee for president. So Angie Craig coming on out there and demanding that he step aside. Why? Now you got to make sure all those Biden supporters are on your side to make sure that, because you can't lose too many of them before all of a sudden this race gets real close. So this is when I was talking about that and I was saying unforced error. This is what I'm talking about. They're going to pour a ton of money into that race, and I guarantee you Republicans right now are going to be buying ads and doing mailers in that district saying Angie Craig has turned her back on Joe Biden. I guarantee you that's going to come on out there. And so, Angie, I don't know if you're going to be a born-again Biden supporter, but you better have a response to that because they're going to market that to get Democrats to not vote for you. Unforced error. That's what it is. You didn't need to do that. Why did you do it? I don't know. Joe Biden's going to be the nominee. So there you go. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. I want to talk about another story here, too, because this is the first time I've kind of been like, okay, I appreciate O'Hare. I think he's trying to do a lot of things with the Minneapolis Police Department and change the culture there. But we had something that happened that seems to me to imply the culture hasn't completely changed yet, and I'm kind of stunned at what is going on here. Demario Reed, the brother of Jamar Clark. Now, if you remember that, Jamar Clark was killed by the police in 2015. This was the San Diego maneuver where basically, the two officers without justification or cause, basically wrestled and was going to take him down through the San Diego maneuver, but he botched it and apparently fell down with Clark on his belly. Basically, he's on the officer's on the back, Clark's on top of him. The officer says he's trying to grab my gun. I actually talked about the fact that it doesn't sound like that is even feasibly possible that he was able to grab that gun. But that was the argument. And reminder, the Hennepin County attorney at that point basically said, well, even though the police officers have a vested interest to basically be able to excuse it, I'm going to go with their testimony, and I'm not going to charge them with a crime for killing Jamar Clark, which, once again, seems like it was, a sanctioned murder of Jamar Clark. I mean, at best, it was absolute crap police work. At best. At worst, they just basically were looking for a reason to kill somebody. And they did. Demario Reed is facing potentially life-threatening injuries following a collision involving a police officer last Saturday night. The incident took place around 9:30 p.m. at the intersection of 28th and Central Avenue Northeast. Demario was riding his motorcycle at the time of the collision. The Minneapolis Police Department is currently accused of violating state statute 1381 by withholding case details, including the officer's name, according to the family attorney, Paul Bosman. He says it's critical to know who is the involved officer is, considering the family's history with the Minneapolis Police Department. While public footage of the accident is unavailable, once again, so you're withholding information from the victim's family, you have not released the video footage of what happened here. Reed's family was allowed to privately review approximately 30 seconds of dash cam footage and claims it contradicts the police statements published by local media outlets. That is the, I believe that is I'm going to read, this is the KSTP article that they put out here. This is KSTP. Once again, talking about a news outlet that basically, the police need a spin they call KSTP. A motorcyclist was seriously injured after crashing into a Minneapolis police squad car vehicle around 9:30 p.m. on Saturday. Police say that the officer in the marked squad car was turning left onto 28th Avenue Northeast from Central when a motorcycle hit the vehicle's passenger side. The motorcyclist received potentially life-threatening injuries in the crash. The officer had minor injuries. Investigators say the motorcyclist was speeding when he crashed into the squad. A witness told the police that the motorcyclist was driving without lights on. Police add the motorcyclist is suspected of drinking, driving under the influence, and investigators took a blood draw to check. The crash is still under investigation. Now, once again, they reported all of this. KSTP reported all of this. And this news story is still up on KSTP's site. Funny story. Initially, police claimed Demario was under the influence during the crash, but Hennepin County medical staff have informed the family that the toxicology results were clean. So he wasn't. But what happened? Well, he clearly was under the influence of something, and KSTP is like, yay, we'll publish that. Come on, that's called irresponsible journalism, guys. If I'm schooling you guys on journalism, you know you're not doing it right. Seriously. If I, the trained chimp, am I able to critique and ridicule your journalism? Well, your journalism sucks. So initially, police claimed Demario was under the influence during the crash. Hennepin County medical examiner has informed the family that the toxicology results were clean. So that wasn't the problem. My son was not at fault and shouldn't be fighting for his life right now, said Irma, Demario's mother. Demario's mother and siblings are demanding the public release of all footage, the name of the officer, the release of the belongings, and explanation why the family wasn't notified by authorities after the crash. What? Tiffany, Demario's sister, said she was listed at ACMC as John Doe for nearly a week, despite the police knowing his identity. What the hell is that? You didn't allow his family to find him? Why not? The family had no idea he was in a crash or the hospital until 5 days after the accident when Demario regained consciousness, remembering a relative's number and informing them himself. As of now, Demario's condition is stable. This is a developing story on this case. So wait a second here. What's with John Doe? You're saying you had no idea that you don't have the motorcycle registration? Anything like that? And that you put him in the hospital, and for 5 days, no one knows who he is. And nobody from the police department came in and said, hey, by the way, who was that guy? Have we ever figured out who he is? Well, let's make sure we find out who he is. He's probably got family that is looking for him. Were you waiting for him to die? And unfortunately, he didn't coordinate with your plans? Because it sounds like that's what the deal is. It sounds like you were waiting for him to die, and he wasn't accommodating. He lived, he survived, and then all of a sudden, I guess we should tell the family. So what happened here? Now, Chief O'Hara, I understand, once again, before your time, the whole thing, Jamar Clark, it was disgusting. You should read up on it. Considering the second you found out who this guy was and what exactly happened, once again, someone from the police department told KSTP, we think he was under the influence of something, when they had no evidence of that, and the toxology report says, no, he wasn't. So clearly a narrative was being pushed. On top of that, they put him in the hospital as a John Doe, and at no point did any basic police work to try to figure out who their guy was, if they didn't already know, because once again, this story kind of implies they knew exactly who he was. But it's if you are the police chief and you know the history of this, you should be out in all front of the media instead of just KSTP, Pointergate. Instead of just KSTP, you should be out in all the media saying, here's all the video footage we have, and if there's a need for an investigation, calling for an investigation into what exactly happened. Because it sounds like, from the eyewitness accounts of the family, what you said was the story, which it sounds like you're saying that he, wasn't paying attention and he rammed in the side of the door of the car. But that doesn't, the family's like, okay, that's not what happened. And they have seen some of the body cam footage. So, yeah, you've got a problem here. Because this is a Bob Kroll Police Department-esque type of maneuver. That's what we're looking at. Was he targeted? That's the first thing I'm going to ask. Was there some cop out there that was upset because after Jamar Clark was killed, that family got uppity or something? Is that what happened here? Because I don't know, because no one's releasing body cam footage or telling about the officer. Was the officer somewhat involved with Jamar Clark? Was he buddies with any of the other Jamar Clark officers? Johnny's San Diego maneuver? Because that would be relevant to this case. And the fact that you put a person in a hospital for a week listed as a John Doe, and at no point your police department didn't try to figure out who is the guy that's in the hospital. Even if he was there, wouldn't you want to find out his name because of the damages to the police car? Seriously, wouldn't you want him to pay for the police car? So wouldn't you immediately be trying to find out, if the story is as you play it out to be, wouldn't you be trying to figure out who this guy is as opposed to leaving him in a hospital bed, I guess hoping he's going to die, and he comes through? I can't imagine what the family must have been like for 5 days, having no idea where their loved one was. I have faith that Chief O'Hara will do the right thing in this case. And the right thing means a release of all the public information. And if the news story that was published and the press releases put out for the police are not correct, you need to fix that. And you need to fix that now. I think you have your heart in the right place there, Chief O'Hara. I think you want to make changes. And I'm going to presume that this is something that happened lower down in the chain of command and you're just being made aware of it. But my God, you cannot have this kind of behavior going on. I mean, at the very least, why are you telling KSTP that he's suspicion of being under the influence when he wasn't under the influence? I mean, that's clearly you're trying to drive a narrative in the news media, which was not true. Toxology reports say he wasn't under the influence. Why are you putting him in a hospital as a John Doe? Why is the family saying but the body cam footage or the dash cam footage doesn't match up with the story that you've said? On top of that, once again, this is already as well involving one of the most notorious police violence on the civilians case this city has seen. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Chief, and all Minneapolis police, this is going to be, if this is not what you say it is, this is going to be another huge check coming from the taxpayers of Minneapolis to pay off this family after the fact. And I think I speak on behalf of the taxpayers of Minneapolis when I say we're kind of tired. Well, I'm not. I'm from Hopkins, but to be honest, but I know a lot of people that live in Minneapolis, and they're kind of tired of having to pay for your mistakes, or as you labeled it, quality police work. Because if it was quality police work, there wouldn't be 8 and 9 figure checks being written out to people. 7 and 8. How about do that? 7 and 8 figure checks. You got to fix this. Chief, you got to fix this. There's the history of this case. No, you got to fix this. And you got to fix this now. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. One more story to get to when we do come back. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on your Monday.
You remind me of the babe. Power of voodoo.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. The Matt McNeil Show, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, the Minnesota Office of School Land Trust Lands, and the U.S. Forest Service, Superior National Forest, have proposed a plan to sell land in the Boundary Waters Canoe Area wilderness to the federal government to benefit the state's public schools. According to information from the DNR, the state U.S. Forest Service and the Conservation Fund have been trying to find a way to exchange school trust lands in the BWCAW for lands outside, and this process has yet to yield an outcome. In this new proposal published on Thursday, the DNR would remove the school trust designation from around 80,000 acres of state lands, and those acres would be purchased by the federal government using the federal land water conservation funds. Officials said that the agreement would uphold Minnesota's fiduciary responsibility, there you go, to generate money for the permanent school fund and to help provide a continual source of income for the state's K-12 schools. Since the cancellation of the 212 land exchange, TCF also wants to sell up to 15,000 acres in the Superior National Forest outside the BWCAW directly to the U.S. Forest Service. The DNR said they are also evaluating the land in consultation with the U.S. Forest Service, counties, and tribes to identify land suitable for state acquisition. Funding will be needed in the Minnesota DNR to buy the land. The state's school trust funds are designated to maximize long-term economic return of the permanent school fund and provide a continual source of funding for every K-12 public school district in the state, said Sarah Stroman, commissioner of the Minnesota DNR, in a press release. Its important land transaction ensures that the DNR can fulfill its fiduciary responsibility to the school dust. We are pleased to work with the U.S. Forest Service and the Conservation Fund to remove school trust lands from within the BWCAW to acquire forest lands outside the wilderness for the public. All right. I am hesitant to do this for this reason. If a Republican gets into that White House, they're going to immediately open up that land to be mined. And have you seen the courts that they're dealing with? If it becomes federal land, it will they'll basically scoot around the state of Minnesota, go to federal court, and that Supreme Court's going to say, "Yep, rip up the boundary waters, rip it up, poison the water, poison the land, poison the air." That's if a Republican gets in there. Stauber is not giddy enough for it. And once again, Pete Stauber is a complete moron for this reason. And if you just think I'm calling him a moron just to call him a moron, no, he's really, really stupid. There's 125,000 tourism jobs in northwestern Minnesota, or northeastern Minnesota, in the Arrowhead region. In northeastern Minnesota, there's 125,000 tourism jobs. This would be a few thousand at most mining jobs. What kind of complete and total moron thinks a few thousand mining jobs are more important than 125,000 hospitality and tourism jobs? What idiot? He'll destroy all the natural wilderness up there, and then when no one wants to come visit, he's like, we need to spend money to get people up here. Well, no one wants to go up to a toxic soup, man. You're the one that basically said, throw all the boundary waters and the Voyagers and all that under the bus and destroy it all. No, man. At least in the state, even if on a dream scenario for the Republicans, they somehow managed to win the governor's office, the Senate, and the House, which I don't think is going to happen. I think that in your best case scenario, the state courts would at least stop this or at least allow there to be a full review before they allowed them to rip up the Boundary Waters canoe area. At least that's what I would think. So no, I don't know if this is necessarily a good idea, because that the quality of life and nature in Minnesota is only as good as which political office is in the White House. And once again, Pete Stauber has already said he wants to basically rip apart northern Minnesota, destroy the natural beauty up there, because he gets a few. I imagine he gets a few campaign bucks from a major international mining group. Is it Antofagasta, Pete? Is it Antofagasta that you're getting your money? Which large international mining company has got you hook, line, and sinker? Can you tell us which one it is? Because you're sure as hell not there for Minnesota, you jackass. And Matt says hi. Yeah. I'm not for this. I don't think this is a good idea. I think we can find other ways to fund K through 12 schools that don't jeopardize the potential of future companies coming in there and ripping apart the Boundary Waters canoe area. I think that that's just common sense at this point. We should be able to find some other way to do this. Yeah. Native Roots Radio, that's coming up next. Have a good one. We've got still a lot of things to talk about tomorrow, so make sure you join us for that. Till then, see ya.